Welcome to this session on selecting an appropriate theoretical framework for undergraduate research. And in this video, we'll move beyond abstract definition and focus on more practical things. This particular video was inspired by some questions and feedback from one of the students who was very curious to ask more. So by the end of this session, you should be able to confidently justify your theoretical framework using clearly scholarly reasoning. So this guidance is particularly relevant for humanities, sciences, media studies, and interdisciplinary research. So I'll call this topic how to make strong academic decisions in your undergraduate video. If you watch to the end, you have an idea of how to access resources, worksheets, which will help you navigate this process seamlessly. So first, why project struggles? Why do people struggle with projects? It's one, because they've got weak theory selections. They don't know what theory to include, what not to use for their research. Secondly, they just have descriptive literature reviews. They don't have a very intentional literatures which will drive their research. And the third thing is the fact that there is a misalignment in methodology. When methodology is not aligned appropriately, you have issues with synthesizing meaning. And the fourth one is the misuse of artificial intelligence. We're in the age of artificial intelligence and people abuse artificial intelligence. I'll speak to that much later. Again, to recap, many students struggle with theory selections, and the most common issue includes selection of theory, not because they appears in many journals, not because they appears relevant, but because they fit into your scope of your research, the concepts, the hypotheses, the ideas, they are tailored for your research. And second is attempting to combine multiple theories without clear justification leads to serious issues. And the third thing is treating theory as a decorative sort of element, decorative additions, so that your project look like bulky and serious. No, that's not the way to do it. So a theoretical framework is not just about name dropping, it's not about just defining, it's about application and its use. So poor intellectual ownership is yet another thing. People really don't connect, they don't let their voice be known, they are not, it's not their voice where they just reproducing old content and returning it out, which is not the right thing to do. So now we're going to move on to academic decision framework. What I would recommend that you use in order for you to begin to make significant impact in the industry. So one is this. Think about it. The theory you want to select, does it align with your project? Two, is the literature, are they positioned to explain your research findings? For example, your theory is meant to give live and reasoning because you're going to test the theory in the course of your process. That's one thing you're going to do. And the second thing is that it helps you explain your data. And then the same thing, second one, literature positioning. The literatures sort of give you an idea of previous works that have been done in your area of study or related area. It may not even be particular, it may just be very closely knitted if you don't have things that are as much as close as possible. So your literature should be aligned, your work should be able to give some explanatory power to it. And the third thing is methodological fit. You have to ask yourself, what method is most suitable to answer the research question that you have to think about this in a very smart way. You are asked, and you're going to study the content. You should know you can ask people through questionnaire. It will be a content analysis. You want to measure perception, what people think. Then the questionnaire goes in. So your methodology is very important. You have to think it in relation to your research questions and objective. And then the third thing is the fourth thing, responsible use of AI. Aha. So before selecting a theory, clarify your research problem. had a previous video which explained how to identify a gap and how to state your problem. And ask yourself the question, what exactly is my study investigating? Is it examining power structures, representation, identity formation, policy influence, or just an audience reception study? The sharper the research problem is, the clearer the theoretical direction will be. Ambiguous research questions produce theoretical confusion. If you are not clear with your research questions, then you will have issues positioning your work within the theoretical. So, how do we make decisions? Know this: a theory is not decoration. It is your analytical lens. Like, it is through the theory that you see your data. So you have to explain it based on the perspective, based on the angle and your understanding of your data. You have to be quite strategic with that. So the next thing I want to say is for you to start with a risk question. Well, your theory must make as much effort to answer your research question to some extent. Your theory should be able to answer what exactly you're trying to explain. It should be able to give us insight, foundational knowledge as to what you're trying to answer. The question you are attempting, it is either it has been attempted in theory or it has been attempted with the use of empirical data. So you have to be quite strategic in selecting your theory and ensure that it fits. Give you an example. This is an applied example within the context of the question that was asked film study. I can always do more future questions. Well, now we have socio-political representation in X-Men. Someone wants to study X-Men. The question should lead to: is this theory speaking to representation? Does it speak to political economy? Would framing theory play in? Obviously, if you're looking at socio-political representation, then political moves should come in. Then if you sort of think about the political economy of cattle bearing, think about how media has been able to represent it, framing theory, and then representation theory. You see that there is a connection between the topic and the theories that are listed. Now, the justification is yet another important thing. Complete this sentence. I am using this theory because it allows me to dash. So if you are able to fill in this gap with a very good reasoning, then you are very close to the promised land. The second thing is, if you cannot fill the gap clearly, you have to reconsider. You have to reconsider because it just must make sense. So, the literature review. What is a literature review? It's not just a summary of work. It is positioning the works that have been done within the context of your study, telling us how it relates, how it speaks to your present work. Am I making sense? So I know you've gotten to a point with this video, and I'm not very sure you're subscribed. Do you want to double check that? So please have a look, click on the subscribe button, and click on the notification button. That will make you see this video again. I'm waiting. I'm just gonna pause here. Have you done that? Yes, click that way, subscribe, and then click the notification button, and that will be all. Well, we don't have any reason to fight over that. Just do that. Thank you very much. So moving back to where I was coming from, structured layers. Yeah, let me recap one more time. Your literature is not a summary. Get that right. Perhaps you are distracted by the subscriptions. And if you are yet to subscribe, what are you waiting for God's sake? Anyway, do not just summarize. Tell us what has been done, how it has been done, what findings they got, and how it is connected or relevant to your present study. That is what we call positioning. Now, structure, it's in layers. Like now, layer one should be your theoretical scholarship. Think about it. You reading other people's work and making sense out of it. That makes you a scholar. You understand? That makes you intelligent. That makes you a reasoning person. You are trying to extract new information from a body of information. That's what some people call systematic literature review. So just like meta-analysis of studies in a particular area. I don't want to go too deep into an undergraduate discussion, but show that you understand all of the works. Tell us how they connect to each other. Second thing is thematic scholarship. What are the major themes that is popping up from all of this? When combining theories, ensure that the conceptual compatibility is there. Do not combine theories simply to appear sophisticated. When you're integrating frameworks, you must be able to address different dimensions of the same phenomena. Avoid internal contradiction and be as clearly justified in your methodology as possible. Okay, so the third thing is there and comparative study. When you're doing a comparative study, you want to be very, very sensitive to context. So you'll be able to make adequate comparison. Does that make sense? Different dimensions, different phenomena, but you're trying to bring them to make sense. So now, let's talk about identifying gap. I have a full video on this. You want to go back to my video list, but I have the video that was published just right before this. You find that very interesting, and it comes with a package, a worksheet to help you navigate the process. So the first thing here is to think about a strong literature review will show us what is known, what has been done. It will highlight the debates, the arguments in the field. And the third thing is that it will identify what is under-examined. What is under-examined then takes you to the point of thinking, oh, this thing that is under-examined might be the gap. And that's where we're going to. That's how to identify a gap. Okay, example of a gap sequence. Why scholars have examined X? The second step is limited attention has been paid to Y, which is the gap. Then you state your problem. Therefore, this study contributes by, you understand that now. This is a practical exercise for you as a student. Write a research question in one sentence. Identify the key analytical concept. List 3 possible theories that will help you explain and help you make sense of the study, and then justify why one offers the strongest explanatory power. If you're able to do it, you won't just be using a random theories or many theories. You have a major and then have sub theories. So encourage yourself. Write it out in the before your supervision meeting and justify it. Be able to speak to it during your supervision meetings. Okay, now your method must answer your questions. Yes, this is about method, methodological fit. Your method must answer your question. Well, why guiding some students, avoiding prescribing theory is very important. You don't prescribe. Let them. I will let you think about it, know it, and then tell me why you have chosen that particular method. And instead of that, I'll say, what exactly are you analyzing? If I ask that question, you should be able to tell me that I am trying to analyze this. So what kind of explanation are you seeking? What kind of explanation do you want to offer? So now, what assumptions are you making about the society or the media? What was your original position? What's your philosophy? What was your understanding? What background are you coming from? Does this make sense? If it does make sense, put something in the comment to make me know that it makes sense. All right. So the next thing you want to do, ensure that there is alignment with your questions, the alignment questions. The first is, what data do I need? Do you need a quantitative data? Do you need a qualitative data? Do you need both, which is a mixed method? Note that down. Second, what method produces the data that you want? What method produces that data? If it is qualitative, would it be interview, focus group? What kind of method? If it is quantitative, could it be questionnaire? Could it be content analysis, like quantitative content analysis? And then, can you implement it rigorously? Can you do it without flaws or without serious flaws? There's no study without flaws, at least it can. So you should be able to provide a strong theoretical alignment that shows that your questions are aligned appropriately. So clear conceptual definitions, consistent use of theory in the analysis, and coherent linkage between theory and your findings. Weak alignment results in fragmented. All right. So applied examples. Let's take a look at some examples here. All right. Look out for recurring theme in frame qualitative content analysis. Think about recurring themes. Yes. What are those major things that you're seeing? Are you beginning to see that it's the theme of corruption? Are you beginning to see that it's the theme of depicting women in a very negative way? Are they appearing like a sexual object? Or is there this negative connotation around, politicization of things, or connected to the deduction of meaning, or is fallacy of its generalization, or is there some cultural elements in all of these things? Two, audience interpretation. I've just spoke to you. Think about it. Will semi-structured interview help you? For the recurring theme, don't forget, qualitative content analysis may help. And if you want to do quantitative, then you have to then do a coding sheet. Sometime later, I'll speak to that. Okay, all right. And the third thing here is, let's say you want to study, you want to quantify news reports or framing content and more. You want to do frequency of newspaper framing. That will be a quantitative content analysis. So begin to think about these things, and this is how to apply. If you have any specific questions, it is the right time to put it in this slide. Okay, so now let's talk about method justification. How do you justify? If you cannot explain why your method produces, your data, your justification is incomplete. You should be able to give a why to why your method produces your data, and how your method produces your data, and also how the data was gotten through the method. See, just the point. All right. Your justification is incomplete if you are unable to do this. All right. So the next thing I'm saying very random. You have to think about it. AI is not you. This is your project. You are grading. You are going to mark it. If AI writes it and writes it wrong, you that will suffer for it. You can't go back to the AI. You are responsible for your AI. AI is a tool, and it has to be used as a tool. A carpenter that holds a hammer and wants to hit a nail on the head and eventually hits his hand, doesn't know how to use the tool. You have to let them use the AI. AI is not an author. AI can produce and give you some ideas, give you some structures based on its mathematical algorithm. But it cannot help you identify problems. Okay, let me do some recap. Why you're looking at this thing that about AI is very important. Clarify the research problem. You should have done this yourself. Identify the analytical intention. You should have done this. Compare theoretical fits. Test against the data. And justify academically. See, your AI use determines. Your AI use strategy determines this. If you're smart, you should use it in which you use. If you're daft, that will be a problem for you. So you need to be smart, and that's why I'm making this video. No, another way to be smart is for you to subscribe to this channel, because I'm offering value. If I have, then what are you waiting for? Just subscribe. But it doesn't bite, you know that, right? It won't take you anything. It will only encourage me. You don't want to encourage me. Change your ways and hit the subscribe button right now. Okay, I'll wait. Yes. Yes, that is it. All right. Thank you for that. So we'll move on to the next thing, which is that the fact that AI is not an author. It is not an author. So you have to think about it that way, that you're responsible for your own work. So the acceptable use of AI is for you. You can use it to understand what you're doing, clarify definitions. You can use it to structure your outline, sort of plan yourself. You can use it to refine grammar. And when in this context, don't just put your original personal text and put it into an AI. That doesn't work. That's going to put you in trouble eventually. Because whatever you take out of it, so you can invest in tools like Grammarly. That's an AI. Spell checker, grammar fixer, and more. So you can also use AI to ask generate reflective questions that can help you think further. Sort of brainstorming. Okay, let's move on. Unacceptable use. Copying generated paragraph. No. I've had a proposal come in and I checked 98% of AI startingly guaranteed. That's not going anywhere. 2, fabricating references. AI is good at this. And fabricating references, you have the responsibility of checking and ensuring that what you are citing is what you are listing and it exists and it's not just perfection. So you can outsource analysis. You can let this process be part of the things. The way you are trained. Undergraduate degree is like an apprenticeship degree. Master's degree is when you become a master in the work that you have been apprenticed. And PhD is when you are a doctor, a master, a senior pro of it. So take time to learn some of these things will help you. Okay. Integrity principle. Let's talk about this. So, you cannot defend the paragraph with your own voice before it's provided to without your book, without reading. Do not submit it. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to say more than that. If you cannot defend it, do not submit it. That will help you. Now, I want to present to you a checklist. Things you should look at in your theory. You should ask yourself, is my theory clearly applied in your proposal? Will it be clearly applied in your discussion? Is it clearly synthesized in your conclusion? That's the key question. If it is not applied, then the theory is not relevant, it's not useful there. So you have to ensure it is. The second thing is that is your literature strategically positioned to explain your study? That's so there has to be a connection from the introduction, from the statement of the problem to the method, and then literature review. So the literature from the introduction, literature review, and empirical review, and then method. There should be like a sequence of flow that leads us then to the gap and then the data. And then that takes us to the conclusion, and then the findings and then the conclusion. All right. So the next thing is that does my method, your method, now you see connected to it, does it answer the question? And also, can I defend every paragraph that I've written? If you are able to answer these first questions, congratulations, you are doing well. And you will do well even in your defense. And I can guarantee you that you can't score even anything less than 70. Because you know what you are doing. There's no reason why that lecturer or your supervisor should hold your score back. Let me close with this. Strong projects are built through deliberate academic decisions. And you have to think, you have to align, you have to justify, and then you can defend it. So if you have made it to the end of this video, just go to the description, you find a link to a worksheet that will help you put this entire lesson into application. God bless you, and I'll see you in my next video.